They thought your breaking point was their finish line. They miscalculated. What they don't realize is that the person who walks away calm is infinitely more dangerous than the one who explodes. This isn't about winning arguments or proving them wrong. This is about becoming something they never prepared for. This is the story of how you became the thing they fear most without ever raising your voice. Let's be honest about something. They had a plan. A very calculated, very intentional plan. And honestly, it was almost predictable once you saw it. The strategy was simple: provoke. Watch you react. Use your reaction as ammunition. See, this is who they really are. That was always the line. That was the script they rehearsed every single time you gave them exactly what they wanted: a reaction. Think about what was happening in those moments. They needed you emotional because emotions are loud. Emotions are messy. Emotions leave trails everywhere in your words, your actions, your choices. And once emotions are out there, they can be weaponized, twisted, reframed, used as evidence against you. An angry version of you was incredibly useful to them. A desperate version served their narrative perfectly. A broken version? That was the ultimate victory in their mind. So they did what manipulators always do. They poked the beast. They said things calculated to wound. Things designed specifically for you because they knew you well enough to know exactly where it would hurt. They created situations where you were supposed to snap, where losing control wasn't an option, it was an inevitability. Maybe in the beginning, you gave them what they wanted. Maybe you did break. Maybe you screamed. Maybe you cried. Maybe you did things in anger that you regretted later. And every single time, they collected that moment like a trophy. See, you're unstable. You're too emotional. You can't handle pressure. You're exactly what I said you were. The narrative was building. The case was being made. And you were unknowingly testifying against yourself every single time you reacted. But here's the thing nobody tells you about cycles like this. They can't continue indefinitely. Eventually, something breaks. Not you. The pattern. One day, something inside you just shifted. There wasn't a dramatic moment. No big confrontation. No explosive reveal. It was quieter than that. One day, you just stopped. You stopped giving them the reactions they were hunting for. You stopped explaining yourself to people who had already made up their minds. You stopped trying to prove your innocence to someone who was determined to see you as guilty. Not because the pain disappeared. Not because you suddenly didn't care. You stopped because you finally understood something critical. Every reaction you gave them was a gift. Every explanation was ammunition. Every desperate attempt to make them understand was just fuel for the machine they built to hurt you. So you did something radical. You went quiet. And that's when their entire world started glitching. See, they were prepared for screaming. They had responses ready for accusations. They could handle arguments because arguments meant you were still engaged. You were still in the game. But silence? Silence is something different entirely. Silence is the absence of the reaction they've been chasing. Imagine them saying something designed to hurt you. Imagine them waiting for the explosion, waiting for tears, waiting for that desperate, "why would you do this to me?" that gives them the power they crave. And instead, you just look at them, calmly, like you're observing a machine that's finally broken down. Watch what happens next. They escalate, because silence is confusing and confusion creates panic. They say worse things, do worse things, double down on the cruelty, thinking maybe they didn't go far enough. Maybe if they just push a little harder, they'll finally crack through. They're desperate now because you've taken away their supply, the reactions they were addicted to. They panic, not in an obvious way. It's subtle, but you can see it in how they suddenly care about what you're thinking, in how they try harder to get a reaction, in how they watch you more closely, trying to find the breaking point they've apparently missed. Because here's what terrifies them. You've become unpredictable. A person who reacts is readable. You know what hurts them. You know what makes them cry. You know what makes them angry. But a person who doesn't react, you have no idea what they're thinking. No idea if they're planning something. No idea if they're completely done with you. And that uncertainty, that's a special kind of torture for people who need control. They realize the game is over. Not because you won dramatically, but because you stopped playing. You didn't flip the board and walk away angry. You just stopped playing. Left them sitting there with all their pieces arranged for a game nobody's interested in anymore. And that's when the real fear sets in. Here's what really keeps them up at night. It's not what you might do. It's what you've already become. You became something they never prepared for. See, they studied your triggers like scientists study organisms under a microscope. They knew exactly which words would make you defensive, which situations would make you desperate, which buttons, if pressed just right, would completely unravel you. They had a manual, your manual, and they read it like scripture. But now, none of that matters, because you're not the person they were fighting anymore. You evolved. Let me break down what that actually means. First, you became strategic. While they were playing with emotions, you were playing with information. While they were screaming, you were listening. While they were trying to provoke you, you were taking notes. You started seeing patterns in their behavior, the same manipulation tactics used over and over, the same excuses recycled with different details, the same cycle they've probably run on other people too. You realize something crucial. There's a script they're following, and scripts are predictable once you see them. Second, you became observant. You stopped reacting and started watching. And when you watch instead of react, you see everything. You notice when they contradict themselves. You catch the lies because you're not emotional, you're analytical. You recognize the manipulation because you're stepping outside of it instead of drowning in it. You see the jealousy hiding behind fake concern. You recognize the control masquerading as love. You understand the insecurity that drives them to tear you down, because tearing you down temporarily makes them feel taller. Third, you became dangerous. And I don't mean dangerous in a physical way. I mean dangerous in a way that terrifies manipulators more than anything else. You understand them. A person who's angry at you is still emotionally invested. They still care enough to feel something. But a person who's calmly analyzed you, who sees you clearly without the emotional distortion, that person is operating from a level of power you can't compete with. A person who's angry is readable. A person who's calm is unpredictable. Think about what they're dealing with now. They can't guilt trip you because you've separated emotion from fact. They can't gaslight you because you've documented the truth. They can't manipulate you into reacting because you've already decided reactions are beneath you. They can't twist your words because you're not giving them words to twist anymore. And here's the part that absolutely terrifies them. You don't need them to change. You don't need an apology. You don't need them to finally understand what they did or admit how wrong they were. You don't need closure from them. You just moved on, without their permission, without their blessing, without needing their validation or acknowledgement. That's the checkmate they can't undo. Because in the game they were playing, they assumed you'd always be waiting, always be hoping they'd change, always be attached in some way, even if it was through anger. But you detached completely, and that terrifies them more than anything else ever could. Your peace isn't accidental. It's not luck. It's not that you're naturally unbothered or that you don't feel things deeply. Your peace is earned, brick by brick, day by day. Every single night you cried alone and chose to rebuild yourself instead of breaking. That built it. Every moment you felt the impulse to call them, to explain yourself, to fix things, and you chose silence instead. That strengthened it. Every time someone lied to your face and you smiled because you were already 3 steps ahead mentally, that cemented it. Every moment you wanted to explode, to prove yourself, to fight back, and you chose your peace instead. That made you untouchable. The version of you that stands now isn't just healed from the damage they caused. You're evolved past them, and evolution changes everything. There's a shift that happens when you stop being a reaction to someone else's actions, when you stop orbiting around someone else's behavior, when you stop letting them be the sun and you the planet. You become your own center, your own sun, and suddenly everything else is just background. People can feel it when they're around you now. There's a weight to your presence that didn't exist before. Not arrogance, because arrogance is fragile. This is something deeper. It's clarity. It's composure. It's the subtle energy of someone who's already made peace with their past and is completely focused on their future. You walk into rooms and something shifts. The energy changes. Not because you're demanding anything from anyone, but because you are something now. You don't have to announce your worth anymore. It's written in how you carry yourself, how you speak, or more importantly, how you don't speak unnecessarily, how you move through the world like someone who's already survived things that would have destroyed other people. The people who hurt you notice this immediately. They see you and something inside them recognizes the shift. And that recognition hits like a punch in the gut, because for so long, they were the center of your world. Even if it was in a destructive way, you were fighting them, thinking about them, reacting to them, trying to prove them wrong, trying to make them understand. That gave them relevance. That made them important. But now, you're not even in their orbit anymore. You built a new universe while they were still trying to figure out the old one. You moved on while they're still replaying conversations from a year ago, analyzing what went wrong, trying to find the moment they lost control. You grew while they're still waiting for you to come back as the smaller version they could control. And you never will. That's the loss they can't recover from. Because the version of you they broke, that version is gone, dead, buried. And what replaced it is something they can't manipulate, can't guilt, can't touch. You're like a ghost to them now. Present but untouchable. Real but unreachable. And it drives them absolutely crazy. Let's talk about something uncomfortable. They want you to fail. I know that's a hard thing to admit. Maybe you still have some compassion left for them. Maybe part of you hopes they'll change, that they'll grow, that they'll look back and regret what they did. But deep down, in the places they don't want to admit, they're hoping you'll crash. They're waiting for you to stumble. They're watching for cracks. They're hoping you'll come back broken, that you'll prove everything they said about you is true. Because if you succeed without them, if you thrive without their approval, if you become undeniable without needing their validation, it proves they were never as important as they thought. It proves they never owned you. It proves they never had the power they thought they did. And some people can't handle that. They'd rather see you fail than admit they were never the force that made or broke you. Here's what actually happens though. Every time you succeed, they feel smaller. Every time you grow, they watch their influence shrink. Every time you smile without them, something dies inside them. Every time you move forward, they fall further behind. This isn't about revenge or punishment. This is just the natural consequence of choosing yourself. The scary part for them is that you're not even trying to hurt them. You're not posting about them. You're not telling everyone what they did. You're not seeking revenge or planning comebacks. You're just living. And that indifference is more devastating than any confrontation could ever be. Because your silence has become louder than anything you could say. Your peace has become a mirror they can't stand to look into. Your evolution has become a reminder that they never actually had any real power over you. They were always just a chapter. A painful one, maybe the most painful one, but just a chapter. And now they're realizing that chapters end. Stories move on, and you've already turned the page. The most powerful version in any story is the one who walks away untouched. Not the hero who fights and wins. Not the villain who destroys everything. The one who simply leaves. Calmly, completely, without looking back. You didn't win by fighting. You won by leaving the battlefield. You didn't prove them wrong by confronting them. You proved them wrong by becoming undeniable. You didn't get closure by demanding explanations. You got closure by deciding you didn't need them. That's the victory that breaks them. Think about the contrast. If you had fought, they could claim victory. I was so powerful, I made them lose control. If you had begged, they could feel powerful. They still need me. If you had exposed them, they could play victim. See, they're trying to destroy me. But you did none of that. You just moved on. And there's no winning against that. There's no narrative they can spin. There's no way to make your peace about them. Your success isn't a reaction to them. Your growth isn't about proving something to them. It's just you, living, building, growing, because that's what you deserve. Years from now, they'll still be thinking about you. That's the reality they have to live with. They'll see someone with your laugh, and their chest will tighten. They'll hear a song you used to like, and they'll remember. They'll wonder what you're doing, where you went, why you moved on so completely when they thought you were more attached. But you won't be thinking about them. You'll be building something beautiful, creating something meaningful, surrounding yourself with people who actually deserve to be in your story. The gap between you and them will only get wider, not because you're running away, but because you're running towards something bigger. That's the real power, not the anger, not the revenge, not the confrontation or the exposure. The power is in knowing your worth so deeply that you can walk away from anyone who doesn't see it. The power is in building a life so meaningful that their absence isn't a loss. It's just making room for something better. The power is in becoming the best version of yourself, not to prove anything to them, but because you deserve it. That's the version they fear most. Not because you'll hurt them, but because they've become irrelevant to your story. If this resonated with you, if you've walked through fire and come out stronger, let me know. Drop un comment. Tell your story. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's still waiting for closure from the wrong person, someone who's still hoping for an apology that might never come, share this with them. Because the world needs more people who choose peace over revenge, more people who choose evolution over retaliation, more people who understand that moving forward is more powerful than looking back. Subscribe for more reality checks on power, growth, and becoming undeniable. This message isn't meant to inspire you. It's meant to remind you of who you already are.